Prayer hands center, prayer hands stage left, prayer hands stage right. Hello friends, welcome back to my channel, Patronosaurus Reads. I'm Katie, aka Patronosaurus, and I read, but today I'm going to be talking about some TV. I'm going to be giving you my thoughts and general overall review of The Witcher, the Netflix original series. I'm going to try to be as spoiler-free as possible, but there may end up being some spoilery elements. And I don't have any notes prepared because I'm not good at reviewing things. So I just wanted to give you my thoughts as someone who knew absolutely nothing about The Witcher going into it. I haven't read the books. I literally just knew that it was a fantasy show. Like, that's all I knew. I kept on seeing screenshots on Tumblr, and I was like, why is everyone so obsessed with this man? And then on Twitter, I saw this video where someone put Toxic by Britney Spears over the Butcher of Blaviken fight scene, and I was like, oh, that's why everyone is obsessed with this man. So that's why I watched The Witcher. I wasn't gonna watch it, and then I saw this stupid fan edit where someone put Toxic over this epic sword fight, and I was like, yeah, I need to watch this show. Also, my sweater, I feel like I'm kind of trying to like evoke Geralt's silhouette with like my big black sweater. I don't know if it's working, but that was kind of the intention. Let's talk about the multiple timelines, because that is something I've seen as probably the biggest criticism online of people saying that they were super confused. The show didn't make it clear that it was following multiple timelines, and I think that is true. Like, I feel like they drop little hints, but if you're not really paying attention, it's hard to know that it's following different timelines, whereas they could have just had something on the screen, and that would have made it so much easier for people who don't pay 100% attention to a show always, you know, playing on your phone, being on your computer, whatever. People do that, and while you should expect to miss things if you are doing that, especially with kind of an epic fantasy show such as The Witcher, it also would have been easier for people who do pay 100% attention like I was. I think I didn't realize until episode 3 or 4 that is following multiple timelines. When Geralt goes to Sintra for the first time and it's the whole law of surprise bullshit, that episode, once Queen Calanthe entered and I could tell that she was coming in from a battle, I was like, oh! And so I finally figured it out. But that was quite a few episodes in. And I was actually rewatching the first episode, and they made like a little something. They gave you a little hint. In the first episode, Ciri is talking to the queen, her grandmother, and she is talking about how she wants to know things, and Queen Granny is like, you're too young. And Ciri says something about the queen having already won her first battle at like some place that I can't remember the name of. So, when she was Ciri's age. And then, in the next scene, Geralt is talking to Renfri, and Renfri makes a mention of how Calanthe of Sintra just won her first battle at whatever that place was. So it is even in the first episode. But that is such a throwaway line. It's so hard to know. Personally, when I was watching it for the first time, I didn't mind, and I was like, oh, I had a light bulb moment, and I realized that it was multiple timelines. And I think maybe that was the creative team's intent. Maybe they didn't want you to know, or they wanted it to be kind of an Easter egg until it was dropped for real. Because I think like that episode that I realized that it was multiple storylines was probably where a lot of people made that connection, because obviously Ciri hasn't been born yet. It's a big area of contention online, so I wanted to bring it up. I personally didn't mind it at all. Let's talk about my overall feelings. I think it's a fun show. I think the actors are having fun. I think the writers are having fun. I think it doesn't take itself too seriously while also being serious enough. I think it really does walk that fine line. I think it knows it's trying to kind of follow up Game of Thrones. And those are big shoes to fill. I watched the first season of Game of Thrones and I didn't really like it. So I never watched it again. I'm probably never gonna finish the books. But I think The Witcher has such a different vibe to it in terms of the plot. I feel like a lot of things are the same, where it's a lot of war, it's a lot of magic, it's a lot of these scary things, there's a lot of sword fights, there's violence, but the overall themes are very different than Game of Thrones, from what I know of Game of Thrones through like cultural osmosis. The Witcher overall feels very hopeful and feels good, and I love that. You guys know I've talked about hope before and how much I love hope in my media, in my TV shows, in my books. That's what I live for, and The Witcher does that so well. It's so obvious that, what's his name? The actor who plays Geralt. Henry Cavill? I feel like I've heard that it rhymes with devil, but with a C. Whatever. It's so obvious that he's so excited. He's a huge fan of the books. He's so excited to be playing Geralt. I think he does a really good job with the role. I mean, I don't know really anything about Geralt. I've never played the video games either. Like, I literally know nothing about The Witcher. Okay? I know nothing. I just think it was really fun. It's just fun. It gets intense at times, but overall, it's just a fun ride. Let's talk about some other things that I don't love as much. This is a criticism that I didn't come up with myself. I saw somebody on Twitter mention this. I wish I had screenshotted that tweet or saved it or something so I could link it for you, but I didn't. But someone was talking about how a lot of people were talking about the diversity and the representation in The Witcher and how great it is. But all of the characters of color are all characterized as like warrior people usually, and they're kind of relegated to mostly non-speaking roles. There are no main characters of color. They're all white people. And the one black character who is a little bit more powerful, she's one of the witches. She's the only one that has become a witch and was accepted into like the witchcraft school because of nepotism. And that is a little iffy to me. And some people were saying, oh, well, it's based on Polish folklore. It's Polish. The author's Polish. Okay, they live in a fantasy world. Like, it doesn't still all have to be about white people. Like, all the main characters don't have to be white. I'm not really someone who can fully speak on those issues because I am very white. I'm not a person of color. But I can tell you that these are some of the criticisms from POC that I've been seeing that I'm like, yeah, that makes sense. And I hope that they do better with that in the second season, that they expand on the people of color that were kind of featured and hopefully just do a little bit better, because it was not the best. It wasn't the worst, but it definitely was not the best. And now let's talk about my biggest gripe with the show, which is Yennefer, which I think is a very unpopular opinion. I think everybody loves Yennefer, and I really don't like her. First of all, separate from like her as a character, the inherent ableism of her storyline really bothers me. And I'm sure there wasn't really anything they could do about that on the show, because I'm sure that's a huge part of the source material from the books. But the fact that all witches have to be beautiful, and so she sacrifices everything so she can become beautiful. I don't know if in modern times, like in our world, we would call it scoliosis or what. Like, I'm not a medical professional, but like, there is a medical condition there, whatever it is. And she's so desperate to be a powerful witch, because apparently you can't be a powerful witch without having like this surgery that makes you like the most beautiful person in the world. Very much like the Uglies and Pretties series from back in the day, if you guys remember that. It's like very similar to that. And what she has to sacrifice in order to become beautiful is her ability to have children. So they have like this very graphic scene where they actually show like her internal organs, like the whole female reproductive system, and the guy who's doing the surgery like literally holds it up and then puts it in the fire. And I was like, whoo, like I don't even want babies, but I don't want to think about that. Oh my God. And her just like her being so selfish all the time. And I don't know, I just didn't like her characterization. She just rubbed me the wrong way. Like I really didn't like her. And at first I was like, well, maybe we're not supposed to like her. But then I saw so many people online being like, Yennefer is my queen. And I'm like, what? You like her? Are we supposed to like her? Am I broken? Partially because of the way her storyline was written with the ableism and the grossness. And like, I didn't love that. Like, why can't she be a powerful witch who also has like this disability? Like, why can she not be both? And secondly, I just didn't like the way that she treated people, the way she talked to people. Like, I just don't like her. Like, you would think that because she had been treated poorly her whole life, she would not also treat others poorly, but then she did. She was just like kind of a bitch. I don't think that makes sense with her as a person, because when we first meet her, she is very kind and sweet and loving, even though she's been through like some tough shit. And then as soon as she gains like an ounce of power, she like turns into a different person. And then that's who she is for the rest of the show, where she's like not really a good person. And I'm just like, I don't know what's happening. Like, she's supposed to be a protagonist that we root for, and I don't root for her at all, and I don't like her. And I'm pretty sure that she's supposed to be like Geralt's big epic love interest, and I don't want her to be. I want him to be with Jaskier. Like, that's what I want, but I'm not gonna get it. I know I'm not. It's fine. Those are really the things that I had to say. I feel like I mostly complained, but I don't know enough about cinematography and filmmaking to actually be like, yes, and in this shot they did a really good thing. Like, I don't know. Overall, I really like it. I think it mostly has good messages, but there are things that can be changed and fixed and done better, especially if they keep the fight choreographer for the Butcher of Blaviken fight scene, because he only did that scene, and you can tell that the other sword fights are not quite as good. And I would like all of them to be much more like that one, because it was so good and so cool, and it's what made me watch the show. It was so awesome. So I hope that they keep him for season 2 and have him do like all of the fight things. Please let me know what you think. Like I said, I have no notes, so this was just me like blabbering about The Witcher for however many minutes. Follow all my social media if you are so inclined. It's linked down below. Leave a comment, like, and subscribe. That's what YouTubers say. I'll see you guys next time.